This is Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones.
The new Shelley Winter Show here on WSB Radio, weeknights from 7 to 10 p.m.
Hi, Shelley. Oh, good. You are fantastic. Thank you.
Yes.
A great host. Show is radio. Listen to his show.
Absolutely, 95.5.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's Monday. Woohoo, let's get it. It's a Shelley Winter Show. Live, local, topical, relevant. We're always here. We're entertaining, and we are thought-provoking. We've got a lot to talk about. Trump trial. We got some Fonnie Willis news. We got Israel rejecting Hamas's ceasefire ploy, which is what it was, a ploy. We've got a whole bunch to talk about. Nathan Wade, a bunch of stuff. But I've got to start here, my friends. So I want you, our awesome news department, spoke to my good friend, full disclosure. Attorney General Griggs and I are friends. We don't agree on politics. Our politics differ, but we're friends. I'm friends with him. He's friends with me. He's been on the show before. But we differ. We have differences of opinion, particularly on politics. And on this story that we're starting the show with, I have to say I am totally in disagreement with him. And so we're going to talk about that. But I wanted to let you all know that he is my friend. He's my brother. I've known him for a very long time. So I want to play this news clip. This is our great Michelle Wright, part of an interview she did with Attorney General Griggs, and I'll tell you what's going on. But it's around this tweet and retweeting of Ole Miss video going on at Ole Miss and Representative Congressman Mike Collins, right? So listen to this.
NAACP Georgia Conference President Gerald Griggs tells me they're also asking for a sit-down with the Republican congressman to find out exactly what he meant by his comment, Ole Miss taking care of business, that was tweeted out alongside a video of a white male student making racially derogatory sounds and gestures to a black female student.
There's nothing positive or businesslike about what was going on in that video, and we want to get a full understanding on behalf of the voters here in Georgia why he thought that was appropriate.
Meanwhile, the student who made the gestures has been kicked out of his fraternity. Michelle Wright, 95.5 WSB.
Now, that was Michelle Wright's reporting. You heard Gerald Griggs saying, sit down, and they want to sit down with Representative Mike Collins, and there's nothing taking care of business. Now, this is Gerald Griggs in the same interview. This is what he said. This is what he had to say.
We think it's appropriate for Congress to address the statements made by a sitting congressman in a situation that was completely racially intolerant and harking back to the old days of the 1950s and 1960s.
Now, here's my rant. Here's my commentary. If you want to harken back, Brother Griggs, if you want to harken back to the founding of the NAACP. Let's go back that far. The founding of the very organization that you represent. That founding of the NAACP was founded by prominent white, Jewish, and African Americans. Jewish involvement in the founding of the NAACP is extremely prominent, with Dr. Moskowitz, a civil rights activist, a Jewish man, and a doctor, Joel Elias Spingard, a scholar, Jewish scholar, educator, and civil rights advocate. He was the first chairman in 1914. His brother came on and became the Arthur and became the chairman from 1919 for about 30 years. Jewish involvement in the NAACP has been prominent. The murders of Goodman and Schwerner, those two young men are killed in Mississippi, Jewish college students who joined the movement. You've got prominent Jews like Joachim Prinz. All of us talk about the March on Washington. We celebrate it every year, but we mostly celebrate Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Guess who spoke right before Martin Luther King gave his I Have a Dream speech? Joachim Prinz, a prominent Jewish rabbi who had been fighting on the side of civil rights and marched with King in several marches and met with King for the first time in 1958 to bring the Jewish community into the civil rights movement, because the Jewish community, many of them being refugees from Nazi Germany, understood what was going on in the Deep South with Southerners and blacks. And they saw it before and they didn't want to see it again. That's why they were so involved. Jack Greenberg, who was a co-counsel with Thurgood Marshall on Brown versus Board of Ed, became the head of the NAACP Legal Defense Fund for almost 40 years after Thurgood Marshall got promoted or moved up to be on the Supreme Court. Jewish involvement in the NAACP runs deep. So when you all of a sudden, after 4-5 months of college students going ham on the Jewish community, death to Israel, river to the sea, all of this, and you say nothing. I mean, absolutely silent until some random college frat boy does a monkey dance at the end of a 30-40 second video, all for 5 seconds, and now all of a sudden everything has to stop because you need a meeting with Representative Collins. Why? Because he retweeted it? It shows two very serious things. It shows why the NAACP has lost its prestige and seriousness in this country. And it also shows that you guys have become purely partisan hacks for the Democrat Party. This was a distraction. This is a distraction to take away the efforts and the focus on these students at Emory and UGA and all these colleges protesting against Israel, protesting against the Jewish people. And you know it. You guys had to find something. The left had to find something. The Biden administration had to find something. We've got to find something to take people's attention off of these protests. Oh, we know racism. And let's blame the white Republican guy who retweeted an innocuous tweet with one kid at the end of the thing acting like a monkey. Everybody watching that tweet, you will never see that kid unless you point it out to anybody. Most of the people in that are looking at that tweet and that video in that tweet are looking at the kid in the American flag overalls. 99.9% of the people who retweeted that tweet retweeted it because the kid in the American flag overalls. And everybody that retweeted are saying, look at Mississippi, Ole Miss, look at these college kids standing up for America and anti-Semitism. Not a single person thinks this kid is legitimate. He's acting like a monkey. Woo, hoo, hoo. Okay. Let's bring in Congress now because we got to get to the bottom of this. But we didn't have to get to the bottom of all these college students yelling anti-Semitic, death to Israel, death to America, all these anti-Semitic things. We didn't have to get to the bottom of that, Congress. No, let's ignore that. Let's go after the one lone Georgia congressman who retweeted this tweet. This is, it's silly. It's downright silly. And it completely calls into the question the authenticity and the very reason for existence for the NAACP. A kid was shot in Savannah, Georgia this weekend. A young African-American kid was shot in Savannah, Georgia by a 33-year-old white guy. Was shot and killed. They had an altercation. He shot and killed, and the white guy ran to South Carolina. He's arrested in South Carolina, and a DA in Savannah is charging with aggravated assault. And everybody in Savannah wants to know why isn't the charge is murder. That's what I want the NAACP to focus on. Not a random retweet of a random video from a random college by a U.S. congressman. Congress doesn't need to address that. Congress doesn't need to say anything about that. And certainly Representative Mike Collins would not be wrong not to sit down with the NAACP because there's no reason to, Representative Collins. There's nothing to be gained from sitting down with people who are going to call you a racist for retweeting something. I retweet things all the time. It doesn't mean I necessarily agree with everything in a video. Doesn't mean anything. It just means I like the video and I'm retweeting it. Oh, but Shirley, you're a racist if you retweet this video with a kid, 40-second video, and you retweet it and the kid in the end of the video steps into the frame of the picture and he's acting like a monkey. Oh, my God, you're now a racist. Come on. Come on. The left says there are 25, 30, 35,000 women and children dying in Gaza, and you're worrying about a retweet by Representative Collins? Come on, baby. Come on, Brother Griggs. You should be standing up. The NAACP should have been standing up for the Jewish community from October 7th on. Because they've been there ever since day one. Either you stand with your friends through time and toil and trouble, or you're not friends. And the founding of this great organization heavily was had a heavy involvement of Jewish Americans, prominent Jewish Americans in the North, in the South, so prominent that Southern politicians, Southern segregationists said that the infiltration, you heard that word before, of Northern Jews and communists is what's driving the good Negroes of the South to get all riled up. Yet they stood. They stood with us. They marched with us. They died with us in many cases, Schwerner and Goodman. And now you have the unmitigated gall to ignore 5 months of anti-Semitic yelling and screaming at Jewish students to go after one lone congressman for a retweet. Come on, my brother. You guys got to be more serious than that. 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk. This is Shelley Winter Show, 404-872-0750, 1-800-WSB Talk.